La voce del Comites, Collaborare per Crescere, a new bilingual podcast where we'll explore the stories, challenges and triumphs of Italian community abroad.
And now let's welcome your host Ornella Fado, voice from Comites, Collaborate to Grow.
Un salve a tutti da me, Ornella Fado, e benvenuti al podcast La voce del Comites, Collaborare per Crescere. In questo episodio, ospite della nostra trasmissione, Margaret Fontana. Ci vediamo tra poco, ciao! Hello everybody and welcome to Margaret Fontana. How are you, Margaret?
I'm great. Thank you, Ornella. I'm so happy to see you. And
It's so lovely to see you too.
We have a long relationship from many years ago, so I'm happy to reconnect with you this year and talk to you. So thank you for inviting me.
Definitely. We met, oh my goodness, maybe 10 years ago when you were doing that wonderful how do we want to call a blog?
It's a blog. So it became a brand, many years ago, like you were saying. So it's the Italian American Girl blog, but it's ItalianAmericanGirl.com. And that's me, the Italian American Girl.
Exactly.
And I think that's the best way to describe who I am.
Yes. Talking about that, I have an important question for you. What kind of Italians you feel? Che italiana sei?
Great question. And I think that I am first generation Italian American. So my parents are from Italy, from Reggio Calabria. And yes. I grew up very Italian. So when I would leave the house, I would be more American, obviously, because I grew up in America. I was born in America, born in Newark, New Jersey. And so I feel very connected to being Italian. I'm very close to being Italian, even in language. So yes. I grew up speaking Italian, and then I grew up going to school, learning more of my English, right? And so being first generation Italian American is definitely a process and a journey when you're born here, but you have such strong Italian roots. It's a very interesting journey, which brings us to now, and we're still talking about people's experiences and stories are all very different when you're talking about Italians and Italian Americans in the United States.
Definitely. So what kind of Italian are you?
What are the choices? What kind of Italian?
You are an Italian that loves to keep your tradition, for example.
Yes.
They are Italians that say, okay, I'm Italian, but I don't really, I live my American life. Instead, you keep your Italian heritage very dear to you and very close, right?
Yes, I am probably, in my own opinion, a very authentic Italian American.
Yes.
I give myself the Italian American because obviously I was born here. But for me, I'm passionate about it. I feel a love and affinity to being Italian. I go back to Italy all the time. My parents still have their childhood home there. My family is still there. And it's very interesting because if you know me day to day here, right? Like you hear me speaking English, you see me I went to college in America. So I'm very...
You look an American.
I am American, right? But it's interesting because once I'm at home, and once I'm with my parents or my family, we're from Calabria, so we speak a dialect. And I had mentioned that I think dialect is almost like a separate language.
Definitely.
From Italian, right?
Yes.
You would agree?
Absolutely, yes. There are dialect in Italy that people don't understand from one region to the other one, from one town to the other one.
Yeah.
So tell me something in dialect.
Facciamo sto intervista oggi.
Buono, brava. Facciamo questa intervista oggi. Facciamo questa intervista. Brava.
So there's two versions.
Yes, definitely. Right? There is a three version: the English, the dialect, and the Italian.
Right.
We are trilingual today.
Yes, it's three languages. So the original question, what kind of Italian do I feel I am? I feel that I am extremely authentic to my roots. I am that Italian. I speak it. I live it every day culturally, even in the decisions you make every day. It's rooted in your culture, in your family. So it's hard for me to be nothing else but this.
But you.
To me.
But you,
yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So one is one of the tradition that you keep very dear to you. It can be food, it can be maybe a festivity. Maybe you can talk to me about a feast in New Jersey that you are particularly attached to.
Yeah, and I think with my family, being that we grew up very close to being in Italy every summer and coming back, doing a lot of the Italian American traditional, you talk about the feasts and things like that. Believe it or not, we really didn't do too much of that growing up because I feel like we were so, just more rooted at home with our culture. So I'm learning more about that now and attending and kind of interacting with the Italian American community because my new role also, I work with the New Jersey Italian Heritage Commission as the executive director. So a lot of the work that we do is about really connecting on all of those things that are important for the second, third, fourth generation Italian Americans who use the festivals and all of these gatherings to really stay connected to their heritage.
Yes.
So I feel there's actually a difference. So if you're first or second generation, you may not really be that person who attends all of those events because you're still kind of rooted. I mean, you can, it's fun,
but I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
You don't have to because maybe you go in the summer in Italy, in Reggio, you have your own festivity to attend. So you don't feel the same need as a third or fourth generation that don't have the same opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, I think every person has their own level of what they do to stay connected. So in our family, we have very traditional things, which is, yes, we have dinner together. Our holidays are together, but everybody has a role, and I think that's very, very traditional in the Italian family.
What's your role, Margaret?
My role
is the organizer, the director.
I coordinate. My sister is the baker and the cooker. My mother bakes and cooks, obviously. My brother likes to, prepare. My other brother is all about preparing. But I come in and coordinate. That's
I
my
knew
role.
it. I knew it. You will be the coordinator.
And that's okay because that's really in my life professionally. That's what I do. So I feel
exactly.
I bring that to the family.
Some of your professional touch in your life.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about you as a person and as a businesswoman and as a professional woman.
Right. So my background is in broadcast media. I started out working as a television producer. I was an intern. So I went to college at Rider University, which is in New Jersey. I had an internship, which I tell everyone all the time. If you really want to get a job in television and you're young, you have to kind of get in the door through internships. It's the best way. So
definitely.
I had great internships. I always worked with the best people, best mentors. I started my career at NBC many, many years ago. And then I worked my way to different types of television networks. I started working at Discovery Channel, doing more documentary work. I started doing a lot more documentary work as my career progressed. Then I started morphing because it was production plus corporate. So then I started getting different roles and opportunities with people I knew who would offer me great things. I've always been very, very lucky. I've been surrounded by great women leaders, by the way.
Yes.
And I will say, having to do with my father, you think like an Italian father would be very woman. My father was like a feminist for an Italian man. He was very proud and excited if I worked with someone who was a woman who was one of could be vice president, president of the company. So I was always very surrounded by great women in that sense. And then fast forward, I ended up back at NBC, working at CNBC for a lot of different great projects. And then more recently, and we mentioned the Italian American Girl blog.
Yes.
So I created that many years ago as a way to connect with the Italian American community. But this is before social media, before we were wild with TikTok and all these things.
So it was way more challenging, right? To connect with you. How did you get to me, for example?
And so you were one of my first interviews, right?
Okay.
Because this is public television. So by the way, I also am on the advisory board for PBS, and which I love.
Yes.
And so my family and the way we grew up, my father always watched public television. He loved, there was always a broadcast of something, whether it was a documentary or something.
Yes.
So I was always told by my mother or father about this beautiful woman who does this show, who does this show, and she visits all these different great places and restaurants, and she's like wonderful. She's amazing. So I started watching your show. And
oh my goodness. So it was your parents that discovered me. Okay, thank them.
Yeah, probably more my father, because he noticed how beautiful you were. So
Italian.
So Italian. And so I started watching your show literally every week, and it was like Brindiamo TV, and you would like do your thing. So I was like amazed, and I said, you know what, and this was us connecting very organically, where I had to send you an email.
Definitely.
And I said, here's me, here's what I do. And so that's how we connected. So that was that part. I still have the ItalianAmericanGirl.com website.
That's so beautiful. What a great concept. Concept. Yeah.
Yeah. And it serves as my platform. To really be able to still connect. And so here we are, fast forward, I'm still working inside of corporate production. I have my own media and production company as well. And so more recently, I had an opportunity with the New Jersey Italian Heritage Commission to work with them, because now I'm in a space when we talk about Italian and Italian American content and culture and heritage. I feel strongly now more than ever, because social media is so dominating, and the message around us as women, Italian culture is sometimes a little, it's like muddled. So I think it's time for people like you, people like me, to come to the surface, and it's time to talk about and bring back a lot of what's important to us from a cultural and heritage standpoint.
Yes. So as a Comites, what is that we can do, for example, for your association? How can we collaborate? How can we work? How important is it to keep the language alive, the connection between the Italian and the Italian American? Because as you can say, I came and I was already an adult. So for me, I need to learn the language. I needed to learn, the system. I needed to learn. Sorry that we put a little clock and said that the 15 minutes has been by, but I still want to talk to you for a little bit. So, sometimes we are a little bit detached. So we have the same roots, but because we don't speak the same language, because we didn't have the same experience, we are not connected. So I feel that what you do, your role in your new job as an executive, what is exactly your title in the New Jersey? Tell me.
Yes, so it's executive director of the New Jersey Italian Heritage Commission, and to answer your question on the connection and how the organizations, your organization, our organization can collaborate more, or even help to bring our message to the surface. The goal and one of the missions is to really promote the Italian heritage and culture. So there is one part of what we do, which is developing a curriculum for school systems in New Jersey. So it's K through 12. This isn't specifically Italian language. This is humanities. So it's art, it's history, it's science, it's math, it's music. It's taking a look at all of those subjects and then looking at the Italian influence, the culture and the heritage that actually developed a lot of American history. So when we talk about American history, we as Italian Americans, as Italians, are part of American history. We developed a lot of what happened in American history. So this is where we can work together, you know, as who we are now and in the positions we are in, to really develop that and say we do have more of a common thread. So even if you're fourth, fifth generation, your maternal grandparents came in the 1800s, and then mine came in the 70s or 60s, you know, we can take those
we can
pieces.
Still be closer together and find a common ground.
We need to be, because there's actually a very big divide, you know, and I think anyone who's Italian or Italian American, if you've gone to events, there's sometimes a divide on our bond, you know, and I think this is where we have to work on doing a better job.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. It was lovely to see you again. Talk to you, learning more about your achievement. And I'm sure we are going to work together now that we met. Maybe, you know, we represent also the New Jersey. So I will be happy to come and visit and learn a little bit more how to create a synergy. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Ornella. Grazie, ciao.
Grazie di cuore. Ciao. A nome del Comites di New York voglio nuovamente ringraziare la nostra ospite Margaret Fontana per aver condiviso con noi la sua storia di First Generation Italian American Woman. Ci vediamo la prossima volta per una nuova puntata con un nuovo ospite per scoprire: ma tu che italiano ti senti? Ciao!